Joining me now to discuss this controversial three-parent IVF procedure is medical ethicist Art Caplan. Professor Caplan, thanks for joining us. You say the research has convinced you that this technique should be pursued. What do you think about the concerns that this technology amounts to playing God or could eventually lead to so-called designer babies?
Well, the technique itself, Jake, is pretty simple. It's replacing damaged batteries in cells by taking them from another egg and putting them into a woman who's got a history of genetic diseases. Those batteries that give energy to cells will work right. That in itself is not the road to eugenics and picking the traits of our children. What it is, however, is breaking a rule. And that rule was we wouldn't make changes that would be passed on generation to generation. That is happening because these changes in the embryo that results from all this transfer of stuff will go on and on to future generations. So I support the technique trying to fix genetic diseases in kids by doing genetic engineering. Seems to me not only ethical but noble. Got to be sure it's safe, got to be sure you've done it enough in animals to make sure that you have a reasonable chance that it'll work. Do I worry about getting to a future where we get smarter, stronger, taller babies? I do, but I wouldn't hold these kids hostage to worries about that future.
Now, to step back a little, a different technique that also combined DNA from three parents was used in 2001, and it was at the time considered a success. There were several children, several dozen, who were born using that process. It was later banned over ethical concerns. Did the fact that it was shown to work, at least in the short term, with these kids who are now 13, 14 years old, help to shape your views on whether
it did.
Yeah, explain.
It did, because the evidence was that at least you could do it, and you seem to get healthy babies. I have to confess, those kids haven't been tracked since their birth to make sure they don't have big problems, but it looked good at the time. We have had animal work done now on this technique we're talking about. Not a lot, but enough to sort of say, it's probably time to try it in humans. I think the safety is, good. It's never perfect when you're pioneering something. But to repair those diseases, which are awful, most kids who have mitochondrial diseases die, and really take a shot at transplanting a few number of genes to let that repair go through, that seems reasonable to me.
Right now, of course, parents who are doing IVF are able to screen for cystic fibrosis, but they're also able to do gender selection. Does that concern you at all?
It does. And in fact, it's part of the reason, Jake, you have to worry that we are going to march down a road using genetics toward designing our descendants. We are seeing families who are fertile go to the IVF clinic and say, I'm worried about breast cancer risk. I'm going to make embryos, test them, and sort them out. That already happens. If you went to any kindergarten, private school in the United States and saw how much money parents spend to try and get a perfect kid on tennis camps when they have the means to do it, or, fancy language lessons. We're a society that values success. We're not anti-perfection. If we're going to stop that, then let's make a rule that says fixing diseases, yes, cosmetic stuff, no. But I wouldn't hold this experiment hostage to that worry.